Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Now, Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and we have another amazing guest joining us today, Jonatan Allback, CEO and co-founder at NjiaPay. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I'm doing great. Sun is shining. Weather is
Yes, it's very
fantastic.
rare here in the UK. I've had to close that curtain to keep that sun out. That's so unusual, is it? So, for those people who don't know you, Jonatan, who haven't had the pleasure, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll keep it short. Born and raised in Sweden, but have lived half my life abroad now. That's why I'm also sounding like I'm American to some people. Spent about 15 years there and currently residing in beautiful Amsterdam. And after college in the US, I spent a short stint of on Wall Street and then ended up in the payment space. And that was back in 2011, right at the time that iPhone came out. And I've been working in the payment space for the past 15 years and currently operating in the African payment space. And that
Yeah.
is really where NjiaPay is focused on.
So, I think you can always know when you're getting older is when you can start measuring your years in iPhone updates and
Oh,
models,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Were you always, did you always know that you were going to be like an international jet setter?
It was always the dream because I
Yeah.
grew up wanting to play professional football in Italy, and then that didn't happen. But there was always the dream to be like my forefathers, the Vikings, the adventurous part.
When you went to America, was that the time when you thought like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start my own company. Was it the American culture and the American attitude that drove you to do that?
To a certain extent, yes, but I never actually dreamt on becoming an entrepreneur. I know for some people it's their dream when they grow up, but what I loved about the American mentality was indeed that, work hard, play hard, anything is possible versus the Swedish norm where you are put in a lane and it's more boxed and I don't know if anybody knows the name or the saying lagom, which sort of means average
Okay.
to the people. But
So,
so no, I never envisioned myself being an entrepreneur.
African pay space, was that always what you planned? How did that come about?
So my dad has worked in Africa for 30 plus years, and I was down in Zambia and Zimbabwe in 98 and for the first time. And Africa has always been close to my family because of my dad and the work that he's done. Then I moved back to Amsterdam after having spent 8 years in California, and I was introduced to an entrepreneur who was operating in Africa and had the idea of launching a payments company for the African continent. And as an African and payments nerd, I was sort of sold, but it was not me pursuing it. It just happened.
So, since we're talking about the company now, what is NGA What does it do?
What we position ourselves as is a payments performance partner for online businesses in Africa. And what that actually means is that we've built a platform that has aggregated a lot of the payment service providers, PSPs, across the continent. And we are able to optimize or orchestrate the various providers that we are integrated into for our clients. Africa is a very fragmented market. I mean, you have 54 sovereign countries, but one country is extremely different. If you think Europe is different, make that 10 times, then you get Africa. So if you want to expand in Africa, it's going to require a lot of effort, integration work, and one provider might have a great solution in, say, South Africa, you want to expand with that provider in Nigeria or Kenya, it could be the complete opposite. And that is because of the ecosystem in those individual markets. Not to say that the PSB itself is bad in that market. So that's really, in a nutshell, what we've built. It's that one platform to help online businesses improve payments in Africa.
Is it built specifically for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large-scale businesses? Like who would you say that it's for?
Yeah, it's more for your mid-sized business that is doing. So we are very focused on South Africa right now. So if you're doing, anywhere between 50 to 500,000 euros a month, that type of business, and for the South African market, that is fairly mid-size or on the upper end on the mid-size. We're not really tailored towards the SMBs, like the really micro businesses, because we do have to charge a fee, and if you do 100 transactions a month, yeah, it might not be worth working with us because of the fees that we charge. But it's more that mid-sized company that does anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 transactions a month.
So payments, you mentioned the complexity, especially between different countries. So payments can be like incredibly fragmented. So how does NjiaPay actually simplify that complexity?
The one part of the payments ecosystem in Africa is that it's still built, majority of it is built on legacy infrastructure. You have not had the introduction of the likes of a Stripe, Adyen, my former company, or Checkout.com, sort of the tech first type of payments companies that exist in Europe or in the US or elsewhere in the world as well. So if you go with one provider, that provider might have built their solution on top of infrastructures that haven't been upgraded in the past 20 years. And you are basically losing anywhere between 20 and 30% of your revenue, potential revenue, because of payments failures on a monthly basis. And what we are able to do because of our single platform and because we have the right licenses and certificate from a security standpoint, we can make sure that the companies that we work with have the ability to operate like they are the Nikes, the Netflix, the Microsofts of the world, without having a team of 100 engineers behind you or 50 payments managers all over the world. But we give you the same features and functionalities that those big guys actually work with on a daily basis.
And you mentioned like you're concentrating maybe on South Africa, but obviously you are available elsewhere. Like, how important is localization and local knowledge? For example, payment methods, currencies, regulations, this kind of thing.
It's critical. If you operate in Nigeria and you want to expand to Ghana or Uganda, it is different mentalities, it is different culture, it is different norms, it is indeed different regulations. What Europe has done and what America has done is sort of unified most of the states in the US and the countries here in Europe, both from a regulatory standpoint, so you can passport your license. This is why you see a lot of fintechs have a license from one of the Baltic countries, and they can then leverage that license to operate across Europe. And of course, you still have the fragmentations that you have different currencies, but you still have SEPA as sort of the link between. I could still send money pretty easily from my ABN AMRO bank account here in the Netherlands to my Handelsbanken's bank account in Sweden. In Africa, those systems or those regulations have not been built out already. The first sort of passport of license that have now been introduced was between Kenya and Rwanda. They are now saying if you get a license in Kenya, you can leverage that license in Rwanda. And that is the stepping stone. They have introduced regulatory bodies like PAPs that are trying to consolidate all of the central bank systems into one, but it's going to take a lot longer than 2 to 3 years to get that all working.
Yeah, so I can imagine it's a really tough job for you, right? Can
Exciting is what I
that's
always say.
yeah, keeps you awake at night. Is that exciting, right?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
does what role does automation or AI play in your business, especially like in terms of like routing payments or improving success rates?
I always say AI plays a part across all of our roles and departments and features and functionalities. I think the beauty of being a startup in today's world is that we could actually build solutions based on AI or for agents. Um, I'm heading down to Cape Town on Saturday. I'm giving a keynote speech on Tuesday at a conference, and the topic is the future of digital commerce. And of course, you can't talk about the future without talking about agents, so agentic commerce in this case. And it is quite wild to think that the past 20 years we've built and optimized for humans. In the next 20 years, we will have to change that mentality completely and build for agents. And that's not going to happen overnight. I think the media tends to hype up these technological advances and projects and products that are happening, but it is the future, regardless. So, of course, we are applying AI, yes, in the routing engine, but on the code base itself, building things that could take 3 weeks before AI can now take 3 days. We are already planning to launch our AI support agent and making sure that everything that we document is structured in such a way that our agent can leverage that data and leverage those answers. We are already using it in our marketing material. Just today, we were creating a presentation, and our designer is using Adobe. Chad is their name for the ChatGPT agent that they give access to. I learned something new today. And those are the types of things that we, as a we're almost 2 years, 1.5 years old startup, can truly benefit from.
And how does the NGP actually use the data in terms of optimizing payment performance and accepting rates?
Without getting too much into the details here and bore you. If it would have been a payments podcast, I would have gone all
Yeah,
in here on
yeah.
answering it. But no, so we look at a number of factors. First and foremost, we compare the various payment service providers and see Jonatan Allback's card. All credit card starts with sort of 6 digits or 8 digits that are called bank identification numbers, BINs. And that is telling us and the ecosystem which issuing bank those cards belong to. So we can look at the type of information and say, okay, these BINs outperform by 5 to 10% via PSP1 versus the other PSP. And then we can start routing it based on those type of card details. You can start easily here and start saying, okay, look at debit card versus credit card, look at this issuing bank versus that issuing bank, all the way down to the actual credit card numbers, the BINs. And that's the type of data we're looking at. But we're also looking at time of day. When you are a subscription merchant like Netflix or Spotify, it matters when you are submitting to that bank the payment. Do you submit it between midnight and 6 a.m. when the bank's risk systems actually are the harshest, or do you submit it between 7 and 9? Those things really matters. Day of the month. When do you get paid in South Africa versus Europe versus America? Those things also matters. What devices are you buying on? Even which browser? All those little data points can matter, and when I say matter, can make a big difference between anywhere from 3 to 10% difference. because of the ecosystem, especially if it's a fragmented ecosystem like most African countries, where latency is a massive issue. And latency can actually be the biggest reason why a payment fails versus the Western world.
And how do you like balance, like, I suppose, performance or performance optimization, like with compliance and security?
Always compliance and security first. That's in the end, we are dealing with money, right?
Yeah.
And I always make sure to tell everybody payments equals patience. It's because you're dealing with money. You don't want to get in troubles with the regulators, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Secondly, you don't ever want to be exposed to hackers or credit card thefts or any of that nature. That's why we say, yeah, security is first and foremost. If we even consider playing in the gray zone, I will most likely say no, let's not do it. There are, of course, things that you can do to optimize, but security and compliance, it's critical in the payment space.
Are you a bit of a daydreamer when it comes to like trying to improve the company? Is your head like constantly in the clouds looking for like the next big innovation, something really fantastic? Or are you kind of like a pragmatic person who kind of thinks, oh no, we need to be as practical as possible?
I'm smiling because no, I'm. That's why me and my co-founder we balance each other out greatly because I'm the dreamer. I have my dog and it's just barking, and every time we go out for a walk, that's where my head wanders off. And yeah, I believe it was Jeff Bezos who said it that as a CEO, you need your thinking time. You need to set time aside to think about what's next. Luckily, I don't have that problem because I'm always thinking about what's next, what's possible when I read articles or watch the news. If you see something, it could easily trigger a thought in my head. And then luckily, I have my co founder and partner, Roderick, who balances me out and says, I like the idea, but we also need to do A, B, and C first. So let's
Yeah.
put it on the shelf. I was like, yeah, cool.
So, what does success look like to you, specifically in terms of NjiaPay?
So the honest answer is I want to build a company that becomes synonymous with payments in Africa. That's my dream. What PayPal did in the 2000s, online payments in America, what Stripe I think did last decade around online payments in the Western world. And that's really what I want to do. But don't get me wrong, that's an ambitious dream and goal. Success would be if we could, bring on board a couple of thousand clients and help them deliver great products to their customers. I would be extremely happy. So, right now, a boring answer is right now I'm just focused on this year and how do we get to the next stepping stone of the journey, and after that you can focus on the long-term dreams and goals and successes.
That's a lovely answer. Not boring. Definitely a lovely practical answer from you there. In terms of like trust, so obviously from the beginning, like, how did you like start winning people over? Obviously, when you're a new player in a space, people are always kind of reluctant to go out with a new guy. How did you develop that trust and continue to develop that trust with new customers, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest challenge for any startup. How do you get those true innovators, or even before the innovators, the beta users on board? And I personally don't believe there is a secret recipe to achieving anything like that, unless you are that 1% of the potentially 1% where you build a fucking amazing product that it just takes off, right? But that's not your 99.9% of your startup. So you just have to grind. And that's what
Yeah.
really what we did. The core team was me, Roderick, 3 engineers, and a head of growth. The head of growth was down in South Africa. And, we were on the ground pitching, selling, speaking to any and all companies that were willing to meet us. And you need to find those buyers or those companies that believe in the product that you have, but also the vision that you're selling. And we were fortunate enough to find a couple of those early innovators that believed in the team, in us, and that in the platform that we had. And then from there on, you just got to continue pushing. And then as soon as you get those first clients, you got to make sure that you communicate that to the market as well, because
Mm,
when you start accelerating that, it will always be, you will always get that question: who are using you?
yeah.
And that's where it's great to have those first 10, 20 clients to say, yeah, this and so is using you. You can go and check it out. But yeah, no, it's a grind.
What would you say is the hardest part? Is it the beginning? Is it the pre-idea, getting the first investors, or is it always difficult throughout the whole journey?
No, luckily for us, the first investment was not difficult, to be honest. Nor was the second round. I think the negotiations around the shareholder agreement, that was more difficult than getting the okay. That you know, I truly believe that getting those first clients is the most difficult part. There's enough investors out there, and don't get me wrong, we probably spoke to, 40, 50 investors during the pre-seed round, and you got to learn to accept a no from people as well. But getting those first clients is, for me, the was the hardest.
And if we look at things that are really exciting, things that are coming up in the near future, I mean, you were talking earlier about the future and you kind of sounded quite excited about what's going to happen. If you were to look, say, the next 3 or 5 years, what is the next big thing do you predict?
Yeah, and I am excited about the future because every time there is a technology evolution like the one that we are in right now, there is massive opportunity. And as I mentioned earlier, being a startup in today's world, there are a lot of benefits of having the ability to build your company as the world is evolving versus being a legacy company needing to adapt. Personally, I don't believe in the next 3 to 5 years agentic commerce like the vision is going to take off as fast as people want it or assume it will. It will get more and more adapted. I think I read a study from McKinsey saying that 2026, around 97% of all online retailers will be using or is using uh, AI agents. But of course, it's from support to all various parts of the business. But AI is, of course, top of mind for us. Other than that, it's for me expansion in Africa. Africa is, as a continent, is very unexplored, and there is massive opportunity for startups to leapfrog the Western world and learn from the steps that Europe and the US took over the past 2 decades and reduce that into 2 years. And that
Yeah.
comes from money movement using blockchain, stablecoin technology, to building out platforms like NjiaPay that does not need to be built on the legacy infrastructure that all the other companies are building on today.
So it's so interesting to listen to. I could ask you loads of questions, but unfortunately, time is against us. So if I can just ask one more question before we finish, Jonathan.
Yes.
Um, your experience of being a co-founder and a CEO, if someone's watching this now, maybe they want to start their own company, not having been through the journey that you've been through, what would the best piece of advice that you would give them be?
Surround yourself with people that will support you. That is in life and like personally and professionally.
Yeah.
That would be my best advice. If you think you can do it alone, by all means do it alone, but more likely than not you will fail. And it doesn't mean that you will fail as that's the end. But yeah, for me that's the biggest advice I would give any founder is because there will be days where you just want to jump off a cliff or scream, and it's good to have your partner in crime at that point in time, or just to share the joy with as well. Those small wins, or you can just fuck yeah, we did it. Nobody else will know about it, right? There's no
Yeah.
LinkedIn post, there's no
Yeah.
articles being written about you or any of it. It's not going to generate $1 for you, but it's just that accomplishment. And yeah, for me, it's one advice that I would give to anybody.
Perfect. Sounds like great advice to me. And it's an amazing way to end the podcast. Listen, Jonathan, I just want to thank you so much again for talking with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure was all mine.
That was Jonatan Allback, CEO and co-founder at NjiaPay.